How does a predator born before the United States survive to see empires crumble? In ocean darkness, 2 football fields below the waves, certain sharks grow so slowly that a single life can stretch across half a millennium. Scientists can now prove these outlive entire civilizations. But what makes the Twilight Zone rewrite the limits of aging, and why does it matter more now than ever? At depths from 200 to 1,000 meters, the ocean becomes almost unrecognizable. Less than 1% of sunlight reaches this far, leaving the water in a permanent twilight. Temperatures hover between 4 and 8 degrees Celsius, sometimes even colder in polar seas. Pressure mounts with every meter, reaching 20 to 100 times what is felt at the surface, enough to crush unprotected equipment, but routine for the creatures living here. No plants grow in this zone. Photosynthesis, the engine of most life on Earth, simply stops. Food arrives in unpredictable bursts, drifting down as marine snow or migrating up and down with the daily movement of animals from above. Each patch of prey is a moving target, never guaranteed. The Twilight Zone is a world defined by scarcity and extremes: dim light, relentless cold, and crushing pressure. For sharks and other animals adapted to these conditions, every aspect of life is dictated by these numbers. Growth slows, metabolism drops, and survival depends on making the most of what little energy is available. In this environment, time stretches out. The ocean's middle depths are not just a place, they are a set of physical laws, written in darkness and cold, that shape the very pace of life for everything that survives here. Cold water doesn't just slow the world outside, it changes life on the inside. In the Twilight Zone, every drop in temperature and every reduction in oxygen presses a biological brake. For sharks, this is the Q10 effect in action. A drop of 10 degrees Celsius can cut their metabolic rate in half. With metabolism throttled back, growth crawls along. Some deep-sea sharks add only about 1 centimeter each year, a pace that turns decades into mere chapters in their lives. Food is scarce, and low oxygen means even hunting is an exercise in patience. Meals may come weeks or even months apart. Energy is precious, and so is time. This slow-motion existence shapes every aspect of their biology. Reaching adulthood is not a matter of years, but generations. Some species don't mature until they're well past a century old. When reproduction finally happens, it's rare and cautious. Few young, long gestation periods, and enormous investment in each offspring. These are not animals built for speed or abundance, but for survival in a world where the next meal or the next mate could be a lifetime away. Fisheries scientist Stephen J. Campana has spent years studying how these slow rhythms play out in shark populations. His early work hinted at what deep-sea biologists now know. In the ocean's coldest, darkest places, longevity is not an accident. It is a necessity written into the very chemistry of life. The result is sharks that can outlast entire civilizations, their lives ticking by in the deep, one slow heartbeat at a time. Julius Nielsen's research changed what science thought possible about animal longevity. Greenland sharks drifting through the dark waters of the North Atlantic had long been rumored to live slow, mysterious lives. But it was Nielsen's team that delivered hard proof. Traditional aging methods, like counting growth rings in vertebrae, failed for these sharks because their cartilage does not preserve a record. The breakthrough came from the eye. In every Greenland shark, the lens contains a core of proteins formed before birth and unchanged ever since. Using radiocarbon dating, Nielsen's group measured the carbon-14 in these proteins, tracing each shark's birth to a specific point in history. The key was the bomb pulse, a spike in atmospheric carbon from nuclear tests in the 1950s. Sharks born after that era show a telltale radiocarbon signature. For sharks born before that era, ages must be estimated against the slow decay of carbon in the lens. In 2016, Nielsen's team published their results. The oldest shark analyzed was about 392 years old. The study's median age estimate was 392 years, with a 95% confidence interval stretching from 272 to 512 years. That finding anchored the species as the world's longest-lived vertebrate. Females likely wait 150 years before reaching maturity. growth creeps along at just 1 centimeter per year. As Stephen Campana notes, these numbers are not just impressive, they are unprecedented, shifting the boundaries of what a vertebrate lifespan can be. The Greenland shark's centuries-long life isn't an isolated phenomenon in the Twilight Zone. Across the world's cold, dark slopes and canyons, other sharks follow a similar script. They live slow, they grow old, and they invest everything in survival. The spiny dogfish is a familiar example. Once common in North Atlantic fisheries, some individuals have been aged at nearly a century, with lifespans regularly reaching 70 to 100 years. These sharks mature slowly, often taking more than a decade to reproduce, and they produce small litters, traits that echo the deep sea's demand for patience over speed. Slow growth, rare reproduction, long lives. Gulper and leaf scale sharks, found between 300 and 1,500 meters, stretch the timeline even further. Many are documented to live beyond 60 years. Like their northern cousins, they grow slowly and reproduce infrequently, with only a handful of pups after long gestations. These patterns are not quirks. They are a survival strategy in a world where energy is scarce and the next meal is always uncertain. Then there is the frilled shark, a living fossil with a gestation period that defies belief. Pregnancies can last up to 3.5 years, the longest known for any vertebrate. In the Twilight Zone, time itself is stretched, and every species that thrives here shares a blueprint. Slow growth, rare reproduction, and lives measured not in years, but in decades or centuries. This is not just about one remarkable shark, it is a pattern written across the deep. Life in the Twilight Zone rewards those who are built for endurance, not for speed. In these depths, predators are rare, and food arrives in unpredictable pulses, sometimes separated by months of scarcity. Sharks that invest in living longer, rather than growing or reproducing quickly, have a better chance of surviving the long waits between meals and the rare opportunities to breed. With few threats from above or below, the evolutionary pressure shifts. It is safer to spend energy repairing cells and maintaining the body than racing to outgrow or out-reproduce competitors. Endurance becomes the winning strategy, allowing these sharks to weather lean years and make the most of each fleeting abundance. The result is a life measured in centuries, not seasons, shaped by the quiet logic of survival in a world where patience is everything. At the molecular level, deep-sea sharks are masters of survival. Biochemist William J. Yancey has shown that these animals carry unusually high levels of trimethylamine N-oxide, called TMAO, in their tissues. TMAO acts as a chemical shield, stabilizing proteins and cell structures against the crushing pressures of the deep and the constant cold. This protection keeps enzymes working and cells intact for decades, even centuries, slowing the wear that typically ends an animal's life. Sensory systems are tuned for rare opportunities. Giant eyes detect the faintest blue light, while specialized organs pick up electric signals from hidden prey. When darkness falls, many sharks rise to meet the nightly migration of fish and squid, timing their hunts to the deep's predictable rhythms. Every successful meal is a product of chemistry and timing, a strategy built for endurance, not abundance. Stories often claim that deep-sea sharks are immune to cancer, but the science tells a different story. Tumors have been found in Greenland sharks and other deep-living species, though they are rare. What sets these animals apart is not total immunity, but the slow pace of life forced by the cold and the dark. With fewer cell divisions and less metabolic stress, there is less wear and tear at the cellular level. Fewer predators and injuries also mean fewer chances for disease to take hold. The result is not invincibility, but a kind of biological patience, one that stretches out the years but does not promise perfect health. Today, some Greenland sharks still swim beneath melting polar ice, living proof that patience outlasts power. As deep-sea fishing and warming oceans threaten these ancient survivors, their fate now rests with us. In the deep, age is endurance. On the surface, our choices decide who endures next.